Hi, I'm Maureen Paraventi. I'm editor of Workplace Material Handling and Safety magazine. Now, I'm speaking today to Martin Boyd, Chief Marketing Officer at Big Joe. Big Joe is a distributor of innovative products for in-between handling applications, market-leading autonomous solutions, and purpose-built counterbalanced lithium-ion forklifts. Now, those lithium-ion forklifts are what we're going to be talking about today. So, Marty, how do Big Joe's integrated lithium forklifts differ from older electric forklift designs, and why does that matter?
Yeah, Maureen, first, nice meeting you. First time. Yeah, so very good question. Big Joe is different in many ways, but before I get into the depths of the answer, I really want to provide some context. In our industry, there's really two high-level trends that are happening. The first is motive power, and the second is automation. Motive power is really what we're speaking of here, and the motive power can really be broken up into two areas as well. In terms of motive power, the common theme is lithium. Everybody's talking about lithium in the industrial lift truck space today. The first movement within motive power has to do with lead acid batteries being and the transition to a lithium battery solution. And then the second is what we call IC to E, or internal combustion to electric, which is really the what we call electrification as a whole. And that's where Big Joe is really focusing its efforts is that internal combustion, what we call class 4 cushion IC trucks and class 5 IC pneumatic trucks, and transitioning those products over to a lithium based solution. So where Big Joe is different and where we pride ourselves is that number one, we're focused on that IC to E movement, and we are developing products that are specific to displace those internal combustions with electric products. Most of the electric products that you see in the market today, the electric forklifts, have been designed to house a very big lead acid battery. And yes, there is a transition in that area where customers are sliding out lead acid batteries and sliding in lithium batteries from third parties. So, and there's about, I would say, between 15 and 18 companies out there in the North American marketplace right now that are developing lithium batteries as a slide-in replacement. But what differentiates Big Joe is we don't have a slide-in, slide-out retrofit solution. Ours is purposely built. It's an integrated lithium solution. So the battery, kind of like your Teslas, the battery is just built right into the forklift. It's no different than your cell phones. And you don't have a choice between batteries in your cell phones. You just order your phone and it comes with a battery. It's the same thing with Big Joe. We design our own lithium batteries. We manufacture our own lithium batteries. With lithium, you don't need to have multiple batteries per truck like you do a lead acid solution. So if you're not going to have multiple batteries per forklift, why not just go all the way and integrate the lithium battery right into the truck? And so Big Joe prides itself on doing that. We're kind of leading the industry in that integrated lithium solution, and it provides many, many, many benefits to both the operator and the operation overall when you integrate right into the truck.
Talk to me about cost.
So cost. So there's upfront cost, which is typically what many customers have traditionally feared in moving from IC to E, internal combustion, to electric, because electric trucks are more expensive than your traditional propane internal combustion lift truck. And then the fear of having to deal with an additional cost associated with lithium, because lithium is a more expensive solution than lead acid. Those are the things that we're trying to overcome. But on the flip side, there are benefits when you do move to a lithium solution related to cost. And the two areas is one is fuel savings. So when I move to an electric or I move to an integrated lithium type solution, I am getting considerable cost savings. You typically will see between 80 to 90% fuel or cost savings as it relates to the energy or the fuel by going electric, especially with lithium, because it's a more efficient battery system than a traditional lead acid solution. And then once you combine the fuel savings by not having to go propane, I'm going with electric, the maintenance, the cost to maintain an electric lift truck is so much better than that of a traditional propane lift truck. So you're looking at between 40 and 60% savings as it relates to maintenance and costs, related to maintaining a electric lift truck over an IC. So overall, once you combine the fuel and the maintenance aspects, the cost savings for both of those together, the rule of thumb is traditionally you're looking at one-third the cost of using an equivalent propane lift truck. So that offsets the higher initial upfront capital investment in an electric truck. But what's nice is typically the way you justify moving to an electric fleet is through return on investment. Okay, I understand that I'm going to have an upfront cost, that I'm going to have to pay more than my traditional propane trucks, but over a number of years, at some point, there will be a crossover where it's going to be pure savings after that. What's happening, the cost of lithium is being driven down thanks to the automotive market moving towards electric as well. So we, as on the industrial side of the fence, we are reaping the benefits of economies of scale from the automotive side. So as the costs for lithium gets driven down, the return on investment for going electric in the lift truck space also becomes shorter and shorter. And Big Joe, again, priding ourselves to be an integrated lithium solution, we are getting very close to where the upfront cost for an integrated lithium Big Joe is approximately the same price as that of a propane truck. So, once you reach that stage, all the anxieties about higher upfront costs related to electrification kind of go away and the benefits become almost immediate. So the ROI really happens on day one or month one versus years down the road. So it's kind of a dynamic time in the market right now, and it's really gathering a lot of momentum.
Now, Marty, in addition to cost, I understand that lithium forklifts save time and space. How do they do that?
So uh, good question. It's probably good to break that down into the two areas, time. So looking at time first, um, essentially when you operate a lift truck that's powered with lithium, it's you get much more productivity through the shift before you go back on charge. So when you drive a forklift that's on the traditional lead acid battery technology, which has been used for decades and decades. Traditionally, over time, as the battery state of charge goes down, so does the performance. So the hydraulics performance gets sluggish, the speed of the truck gets sluggish. So you definitely will have it'll definitely have an impact on your productivity as you drive through a shift with a lead acid battery. When you move to lithium, going back to the phone analogy, is like when my phone is getting ready to die, I don't experience any performance degradation. I can still talk, I can still text, I can still go through the internet and read the news without any performance issues at all. But at some point, it will just drop out. Lithium batteries are the same. So I can now drive through a shift and have max performance for versus a traditional lead acid. So time-wise, you become a lot more productive when you drive a truck that has a lithium battery than the traditional lead acid. There's other aspects too. If you compare it against propane, if I run out of gas with a propane truck, I have to remove the propane tank. I have to replace the propane tank. That's all time. Lithium batteries, the way you charge lithium batteries is anytime you're going on a break, whether it's a lunch break, a smoke break, a bathroom break, maybe just talking to your manager, always put it on charge. So we like to say you're always constantly topping off the tank, so you never have to stop and have to replace a propane tank when you run out of gas. Um, so those are a lot of the benefits as it relates to time. There's one other one when you compare an integrated lithium solution versus a slide in, slide out lead acid solution is, when you run out of juice for a lead acid battery, you typically have to either one, put the entire truck and battery on charge, and wait for it to charge up so you can use it again, which means the operator needs to either change forklifts or conversely, they have to spend the time to replace the battery in a truck. So these lead acid batteries are very heavy. They're very heavy. They're very bulky. And many times the operator is responsible for changing those lead acid batteries when it comes time to it. So with an integrated lithium solution, if you're constantly topping off the tank, there's no batteries to change, so you don't have to spend any time replacing, big, bulky, heavy lead acid batteries.
Now, maximizing space is very important, especially in warehouses. We've talked about the advantages of integrated lithium forklifts over previous electric forklift designs, but how do they compare to propane and lead acid models?
So on the space side, when you have a traditional electric forklift that runs on a lead acid battery, again, lead acid battery technology, just the inherent nature of how it performs over time, it's essentially a multi-battery per forklift type solution. So if I have multiple batteries per truck, well, if I'm driving the truck, where are the other batteries? They're typically stored in an area where they're being charged. Now, multiple batteries per truck means you got to store those batteries. That takes up facility space. And if you have a battery changeout station, which can be a very large device that's manual operated by a technician of some sort, that also takes up space. So when you're going from a lead acid solution to a lithium solution, you can eliminate the need to have a battery storage area or a battery charging room. And a lot of facilities that have moved from lead acid batteries to lithium batteries have essentially eliminated that space that would have been otherwise used to replace batteries, change out batteries, and been able to expand their manufacturing footprint or use it as office space, et cetera. So there's a lot of space savings there when you're going from lead acid to lithium. Additionally, if you're looking at the electrification side, IC to E, there's space savings by eliminating the need to have propane storage tanks. Typically, there's an area within the facility that houses all of these propane tanks, and if you go electrification and you can move to an integrated lithium solution, the goal is to have battery chargers located sporadically through your facility, ideally in places where the operators are going to be taking their breaks, by the lunchrooms, by areas where they're going to be going outside for their smoke break or bathrooms, and you can really maximize your space in that sense as well.
What about maintenance costs? How do those compare?
So again, going back on the maintenance cost, we talked about a little bit earlier, where there's two areas of savings when you're going to an electric solution, especially if you're going to a lithium type solution. Overall, both fuel and maintenance together. Again, the rule of thumb is about one-third that of an equivalent propane truck. On the maintenance side, you're looking at 40 to 60% cost savings in terms of operating equipment that are powered by electric, especially with lithium batteries, because you add an additional level of maintenance savings because with lithium batteries, they don't require watering, they don't require equalization, they don't require cleaning. There's a lot of pains associated with lead acid battery technology. And traditionally, the lead acid technology has been the ultimate barrier and hurdle for customers to want to go to electric. Typically, they've tried it. They've experienced all the pains with lead acid, especially as it relates to maintenance, and they've quickly gone back to just using propane trucks. Lithium is the final piece of the puzzle that allows all of those pains associated with lead acid to be overcome. And now customers are becoming more educated in this whole movement to lithium, and they're making the change, and they're never ever wanting to go back to a propane solution once they go lithium.
Well, that gives me the perfect segue into my next question. Big Joe customers who have made the switch from propane or lead acid lift trucks to lithium lift trucks, what kinds of reactions have you gotten from them? I mean, you said they are never going back, but what specifically have they said?
So I love this question, and really, what we're doing here at Big Joe is what we love to turn doubters into believers. So there's never a better situation when you walk into a customer that's running a internal combustion forklift fleet, and maybe they've had the experience of trying to go electric in the past and have failed, mostly because of the pains related to lead acid. And then now Big Joe comes in with our purpose-built integrated lithium solution, and the customer again, because it's just their experience in the past has been it's not going to work. So we will go into a customer and we will utilize our truck to say, listen, take our truck. We will set you up with a charger. In fact, we have an onboard charger where we can charge the truck overnight very slowly. I mean, if you have a two-shift operation and you've got 8 hours in between, I can actually power the truck with just a standard 120 or 240, outlet, and I can get a charge in that truck. But you use our truck, and number one, you'll get experience of your operators getting behind the wheel of a an electric truck that has productivity and performance that your IC truck has. But secondly, behind the scenes, what we're doing is through telemetry, we're able to pull data from the truck. So all Big Joe trucks are equipped with a telemetry system called Pulse, and we're able to see how the power is being used on the truck. We can see when they're putting it on charge. We can see how fast it's charging, and we can go back to the operation and to the customers after they've been driving the truck for a couple of days or a week, and we can see exactly what they're doing and help them understand how the operators are using it. What we often run into, because the biggest complaint before the customers even get on one of our Big Joe trucks, is there's no way that that truck is going to be able to last the entire shift. It's gonna run out of energy or run out of gas, in electric form. And so we say, that's fine, put it in your operation. And usually we'll come back like a day later, we'll get a call, and the customer will say, take this truck back. It did exactly what I said it was going to do. It didn't last the shift. I told you it wouldn't. And we said, hold on a minute. Let's go back and look at the data. So, and usually the customer is surprised that we have the data. Like, how did you get the data? It's like, well, we have it on our computers remotely. We can pull the data remotely to see how you're using it. And what we do is we show the customer, hey, here's your operator that operated the lift truck, or your operators plural. And they went this entire 8 hours or 10 hours, and we can see there was a break here, a break there, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And had that operator put the truck on a charger during that little small periods of time during their shift, we can model it out and show them that the truck, in fact, would not have run out of juice. It would have lasted the entire shift. And usually it's an awakening for the customer to say, I had no idea. But of course, they'll reprimand the operator saying, hey, when you drive this truck, you need to put it on charge every chance you get to keep the top off the tank at every chance you get. Usually when they do that, they become believers very quickly because it'll last the entire shift. The battery anxiety goes away, and it really gives them the experience that we want them to experience, which is we have a solution for the operation that will do exactly the same, if not better, in terms of productivity, comfort, reliability, that they're used to with a propane type solution.
So Big Joe's data collection really helps the company help the customers get the most out of the trucks.
It's everything to us. I mean, it to me, it's the ultimate way to get customers to understand that we do have a solution that'll work. It'll also allow us through data to be able to right size the battery size in the truck as well as the charger. So you have you have several options for batteries. I can get a very, very expensive, large lithium battery that has a lot of capacity in it that will take a customer 8 to 10 hours straight without going on a charge. But if the operation has chargers in the right locations, I can actually use the data to say, hey, as long as you're constantly topping off the tank, we can set you up with the correct size charger in terms of speed, how fast you fill up the battery, and fill you or and set you up with the right size battery. So you're not spending, enormous amounts of money for a big battery with a super fast charger, which is a lot of money, and you may not need it. So we're going to use the data to right size the battery on the truck. We're going to use the data to right size the charger in your facility. That way, you as a customer are not spending money and not using it and not reaping the benefits of it. So we can really dial it in for the customers.
And I'm sure that is very much appreciated. Now, Marty, I want to hear about safety and lithium-ion lift trucks, but first, can you discuss the dangers of propane and lead acid lift trucks?
So overall, the way lift trucks are designed, whether it's a box on wheels type lead acid type battery, what we call an ITA class one truck, or if it's a class 4 and 5, propane powered or diesel powered lift truck. All trucks are designed to meet safety standards, and that's the ITSTIF B56.1 standard that all lift truck manufacturers design to. So inherently, all lift trucks are designed safe. Um, Integrating lithium into the truck does provide additional areas where, safety can be perceived as much better than that of those other trucks. If you look at a integrated lithium truck versus, say, a propane truck, well, or even an electric truck, there's no propane tank on the back. So not having a propane tank in the back means that the operator, when he's driving the truck in reverse, because he's got a load in the front and he can't see forward, he has to drive backwards. There's better visibility out the back. So even though a propane truck is safe, perceptually having a truck with no propane on the tank on the back gives you better visibility in rearward travel, which is something that is very first and foremost on many facility operations minds is how can I improve safety? How can I improve visibility? And that's one big area. The second area is by not having a propane tank in the back, you don't have to remove it and replace it. And some of these tanks get heavy, whether it's a full tank that you're trying to put on the truck or even an empty tank that you're trying to remove from a forklift that needs to have the fuel tank replaced. It's very awkward many times to lift up this very heavy, bulky propane tank and put it on the back of the truck. So that's something that is also an advantage once you go to an integrated lithium type solution. As it relates to a purpose-built lithium battery truck versus a lead acid type solution with a replaceable lead acid battery, again, these lead acid batteries are extremely big, they're extremely heavy, and again, because of the nature of lead acid battery technology, you typically have to replace it and fill it and put in a new one that's fully charged. Replacing those batteries is not an easy task. You really need to have somebody trained very well on how to do that. There are many instances where if you're not doing it the proper way, you could easily pinch your finger between a battery that weighs thousands of pounds and pinch it between the battery and the truck. It's not something operations like to do. It's something operators I mean, their primary task is to drive the forklifts. They don't typically like to replace lead acid batteries. So, the idea of moving to an integrated lithium solution where it's a single battery per truck solution, I never have to pull the battery out of the truck. It's simply get off the truck, put the charger in, and walk away. That's something that's much more valuable and preferred versus a system where there could be some safety implications if you're not doing it right and you're not trained right.
Moving on to some other types, in what ways do lithium-ion lift trucks contribute to workers' safety and comfort, improved operator comfort, compared with older electric and internal combustion models?
Yeah, so one of the benefits in lithium battery technology. And one of the reasons why we've, at Big Joe, decided to integrate the lithium batteries into the truck so you don't have to remove it and replace it. It's just simply a one battery per truck solution, is it gives our design engineers freedom. It's something they've never really had before with an electric lift truck design because traditionally lead acid technology is, again, it's a big box. It's really what it is. The big heavy box that the design engineers have to design around. And you can look at all the different brands of forklifts in the market and look at their, sit down counterbalance class one trucks that were designed around a lead acid battery. Other than paint and decals and some cover styling and some overhead guard styling, it really is essentially just a box on wheels. Lithium is a much denser energy storage system. I can pack a lot more power into a smaller envelope, which gives me as a design engineer freedom to say I am going to put the lithium cells in this location, and I'm going to put the battery management system over here. And now all of a sudden, I am not restricted just to box on wheels. I can do things like I can lower the seat, and I can provide the operator more foot space and create almost a different animal entirely than what they're used to with an electric lift truck. So that in its sense, these lift truck operators are really migrated and accepted the lithium battery technology, especially when it's integrated into the truck, because now all of a sudden they're not sitting on a box on wheels. They're sitting on a truck that has form factor that allows them to easily get in and out of a truck very, very easily, much like their propane trucks that are designed around an engine. So, operators really like the comfort of getting in and out of our lift trucks. Just having more leg space when driving, especially driving in reverse. You want to have that freedom of movement with your legs. So when you go to an integrated solution and it's really been designed and configured around the operator and around the ergonomics of the operator, operators never want to go back to lead acid batteries. And in many cases, they don't want to go back to propane style type forklifts because propane trucks, and when they got an engine in it, they're kicking out heat out the back. The exhaust gets in their face. It kicks up dust in their face as well. I mean, they're sitting on top of the engine hood. And as you can imagine, if you're running in a hot operation, that engine hood gets hot, which means your legs, the back of your legs, which are right up against the engine hood, they also get hot. So it creates a very unpleasant environment for the operator. And when you go into an integrated solution, you solve all of these pains that have been always associated with the operator and really just giving them a much more pleasurable experience. Many of these operators, they'll sit behind a truck for 8 hours a day. And you ask, I was just at a customer last week that was driving some 12,000 pound paper roll clamp type trucks. And all their complaints are about when I get off this truck at the end of my shift, it's 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 so hard for me to come home because my back aches, my body aches, I'm exhausted, I'm fatigued. I mean, you almost have to be an athlete to drive these forklifts, and going to an integrated solution solves a lot of those pains.
Now, Marty, finally, regulations regarding industrial vehicles tend to evolve due to environmental considerations. Why and how should companies get out in front of regulatory changes when it comes to their lift truck choices?
Yeah, really good question. As it relates to, the regulations around lift trucks, obviously what drives the manufacturers of lift trucks or the safety standards. Those are constantly evolving, and all the lift truck manufacturers have a responsibility to adhere to any changes to the safety standards. As it relates to where what we're talking about here is, and focusing on is electrification, internal combustion to electric. There's been a lot of grumblings and a lot of discussions in the market, especially in California, as it relates to moving away from internal fossil fuel burning type lift trucks and moving to an electric platform. So there's been something that's been going on over the years leading up to really essentially a complete elimination of sales for internal combustion powered lift trucks in the state of California. California is is usually what happens in California. Usually the other states follow. They've been given a very unique position to be able to establish uh, regulation that other states can follow. They had a zero emission forklift initiative, which has been in development for several years. That was supposed to be implemented in the beginning of 2026, where they were going to start essentially outlawing the sale of certain internal combustion lift trucks in the state of California. Um, and that has, because of the administration changes in Washington, D.C., those have been put essentially on hold. Now, I think the customers and operations, not only in the state of California, but all the states in North America and in Canada, in fact, they are not expecting this to go away. Inherently, there are benefits in going electric from all the things that we discussed earlier. And it's our job as manufacturers to show customers that there is technology that exists today that allows them to reap all of the benefits related to cost savings and performance and safety. Uh, but many of those customers aren't aware of that. So the ones that have this green thinking mentality, they don't want to wait for government. They don't want to wait to be told, "Hey, you're going to have to replace your internal combustion fleet." The pressure that was put on these customers over the past couple of years has been pretty intense because if I'm an operation that's got 100 lift trucks that are all running on propane, and there are some upfront costs related to making that switch, how are you going to be able to do that and be able to keep your business running at the same time? So even though there has been a relaxation on in California and moving from IC to electric in the lift truck world, I don't think you're going to see much of a slowdown in terms of customers making that switch because they're going to anticipate maybe several years from now that those regulations will be back on the table. And I think that many of the customers that are making the switch are seeing the benefits beyond just the green aspects of it, which government is forcing, the clean air and moving away from fossil fuels. Customers are seeing that, hey, there are benefits in making the switch to electric. So yeah, while things have been relaxed, they're not going to go away. It's our job at Big Joe to help educate customers that you shouldn't have to wait for regulations, and we don't think there's any reason why you should because there's benefits that exist today. And so that's kind of where we're leading the charge.
Well, a lot of great information today. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Yeah, no problem. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
I've been talking with Marty Boyd. Marty is Chief Marketing Officer of Big Joe. Now, Big Joe provides engineering expertise, customer service, aftermarket parts, and warranty support for innovative products for in-between handling applications, market-leading autonomous solutions, and of course, the purpose-built counterbalanced lithium-ion forklifts. You can find out more information at bigjoeforklifts.com.